I be doing? What should I not be doing? Maybe someone else is taking off a lot faster and you feel like you're lagging. But that comes down to time management, okay? So it's really, you guys, been kind of tugging at me. And it was even before we started this Coach Basics that I needed to do something on time management, just because I know we have a lot of coaches in here that are working full time, maybe going to school, you have kids, and balance is hard. It really, really is hard. And I don't want to lose anyone or have anyone take a step back because that balance is so difficult, because it is. I mean, I get it, you guys, but we're in this together. So if you're in that situation and you feel like, okay, maybe this isn't for me, or I need to take a step back. So tonight I really wanted to talk about just that whole time management. And I promise I'm going to keep it short and sweet, but just a few things that have really helped me be able to basically work the business full time. And I will be upfront, you guys, I did not work the business full time when I started, okay? There are still days that I don't put into this business what I should have yesterday or what I should tomorrow, just because life gets us, and that's okay. And that is the true beauty about coaching, okay? At any given time, if you need to take a day off here and there, that is perfectly fine. But I really want to give you guys some tips on time management. And it's so easy for all of us to be bad at time management. I know Shelly's always talking about procrastination. We're all guilty of it. But time management, you guys, is a little bit different than procrastination. Procrastination is just constantly putting stuff off, versus time management is sitting down and really thinking about, okay, how am I managing my time, every single day? Because, we tend to procrastinate. We easily use life as an excuse, but at the end of the day, you all can agree, we all have the same 24 hours in a day. It's just, are we choosing to use the same time efficiently? Are we using it effectively? Same goes when you're talking to a customer, and we've all been there. They have the excuse that they don't have time to work out. They don't have time to meal prep. And all of us are going, no, 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 no. We all do it. Kind of the same thing with our business. We all use life as an excuse. I do. I mean, I was gone all weekend. The days that I have my 12-hour shifts, I'm constantly using life as an excuse. So don't feel like you're not good at time management. But the people that are most successful within this business are not the people that have a whole 8 hours a day to sit down and work their business. You can spend 8 hours a day working this business and still not achieve the level of success you want, still not achieve the level of income that you want, because typically, if you sit down for 8 hours and try to work this business, you guys get bored. We start to scroll on social media. So don't think that, I don't have a whole day to work on coaching, that you're never going to be successful. It's just what you do with that time that you have, those pockets of time throughout the day, in order to help you be successful. So anyways, like I said, you can spend 8 hours a day. That's fine. I personally don't spend that much time on my business, because coaching, yes, it is my life, but at the end of the day, it's not my life. I have to keep my life going with coaching on the side, and I have to get my business to somehow work on its own. So a lot of us are wasting time doing things that aren't giving us like a return on our investment. And not just the investment financially in the business, but the investment of time. We invest time into this business, you guys. We invest a lot of emotion. Like, raise your hand if you pour a lot of emotion into this business. We all do. We're constantly, if we're told no, that takes a toll on us. If I've seen this a lot. It just happened to me the other day. I sent out an invite to a girl, and her and I had been talking and talking and talking. Guess what? She's like, oh, by the way, thanks for all the information, but a best friend just signed up as a coach. I'm going to join her. And it's like, okay, great. Glad I just gave you all that information. So again, we want to do time management that's going to be successful in our business. And, that I honestly feel like sometimes the biggest investment that we put into this business is that emotion. But anyway, so getting back to time management. So how can we get ourselves organized, to be more efficient besides doing the vital behaviors every single day? So if you guys have not watched Caitlin, if you guys are in the Coach Basics group and you haven't watched Caitlin's video on vital behaviors, please do so. But besides those vital behaviors that we do every single day, what can we do to get ourselves organized? So, just as we meal plan and we prep for every single day, we're prepping our week for our nutrition. We are prepping for fitness, you guys, or maybe you do a plan for your full-time job every single week. Do you sit down and write out, what do I need to do for my full-time job this week? Ask yourself, what are your top priorities? What activities do I need to get done? What goals in my full-time job do I have to do? Deadlines, whatever it may be. So just as we do this in our normal lives, we have to do this in our Beachbody business too. You have to sit down and have that calendar and that prep day and treat your business like it's your meal plan. Like they say, if you fail to plan, you plan to fail, whatever the saying is. But it's the same with your business. If you don't sit down and you don't plan out your priorities and your goals and you have them written out, you're not setting yourself up for success. And I've been there. When I don't sit down on Sunday night and organize my whole week as far as team calls and what I need to do, I pretty much am a fluke all week long. So same thing with my meal plan. If I don't sit down and prep it and plan it out, I am constantly, just grabbing whatever out of the fridge every single day. And I probably eat 6 yellows because I don't keep track of my yellows. Same with your business. So sit down, you guys, every Sunday is my biggest tip, and just lay it all out. Whether or not, I have this fly flying around me, whether or not you're sitting down, you're writing it in a planner, a calendar. Maybe it's just on a piece of paper, Monday through Friday. What do I need to do this week? Maybe it's a Google planner, whatever it is, I don't care. You have to have a system. So pick that day. For me, it's Sunday. And it's Sunday evening. If Sunday evenings are your time with your family, then do it Saturday night, whenever you have time, you guys, to sit down and organize. And it only takes 10, 15 minutes to sit down and organize your entire week. So the first thing I want you guys to really think of when you're sitting down and organizing is, okay, what is my priority for the week? What is my business goal for the week? Is it a number of recruits? Do you want so many signups? Is it a certain amount of volume or income? So what is your number one thing? It can only be one thing that you are most focused on that will be directly related to results. Whatever that one thing is that you need to do, I want you guys to see results from it, because those results will directly be related to income. Like I know Shelly, one of her goals every single week is to get a certain amount of PV. Again, her volume is going to help build income. And this is so important that you have that one goal that you work on every single week. Don't put things on your calendar that don't result in building income. Those are just busy work. If you're sitting there saying, okay, I need to do this team call looks really, really good from, a higher up coach, that's fine. But do that on some other spare time. Don't do that during your working hours that you guys have sat down and you have created. So the first thing, again, you guys, is to sit down once a week, write out your calendar, and figure out what is your number one priority. So when you're writing out your calendar, also look at the non-negotiables. So make sure you have your job on there. Like downstairs in my kitchen, I should have brought it up, but I have a legit calendar in my pantry, and I have what days I work, where my team calls are, what my workout is. And I have my number one goal. And, like right now for me, it's to focus on getting all of you new coaches up and running, because that's going to help build our team, you guys. And I want you guys to build your own independent, successful business. So looking at your calendar, like I said, and writing in those non-negotiables. So adding your hours, sports, after school activities, doctor's appointments. You have to look at your schedule as a whole. And I can guarantee you guys, when you actually sit down and look at that calendar, you're going to see that you do have pockets of time where you can work your business. Like Cheryl today posted in our Coach Basics group that at baseball practice, she was going to catch up with a call. Maybe it's you have a half hour before your kids wake up, or your kids are watching TV at this certain time, or working on schoolwork, or, you are driving home from work. And you know what, you guys, when I drive home from work, that is when I catch up with my customers. And it sounds really crazy, and it's probably not the safest thing, but I constantly am voice messaging people. For me, driving home from work, I have a good 40-minute drive. That is when I catch up with people. And everyone knows that when they message me and I'm at work, I do not respond typically until after work. So I use that 40 minutes to constantly catch up with messages, and I do it all voice to text or voice message, whatever you want, because it's easy, it's fast, it's effective, and I'm using my time wisely. I actually have something to do on my way home from work, and it kind of helps me wind down, but I know that I still put time into my business that day. And it's not that there isn't enough time in the day for you guys. Maybe it's, okay, I'm not going to sleep in on Saturdays because I want to get up and I want to work my business for a half hour, and making sure that when you sit down that you're using that time effectively. I do it all the time. I will catch up with people's Instagram stories, and I'm constantly aimlessly scrolling on social media, and Blake lays down and takes a nap. I'm like, oh, I got a good hour and a half. And an hour later, I'm still looking on social media. So you have to cut down the distractions, like sitting down, looking at that calendar and saying, okay, are my, motions and what I'm doing to work my business matching up with my number one priority that I have to do for the week? So, when it comes down to time management and sacrificing your business, like, I want to point this out. You do not have to sacrifice everything that's important to you to run this business. If you have a date night, if there's a certain time every night that you sit down with your kids and you read books, or you have quiet time with your significant other, don't sacrifice that. You don't have to sacrifice everything, but you do have to do like a gut check. Ask yourself, what are the most important activities? Is there a certain show you watch on Thursdays or Tuesdays, whatever it is? Can you DVR and maybe catch up with it on a different day? Don't feel like you have to sacrifice everything, because you don't, but you do have to be cognizant of what you're doing with your time. Getting in the habit of planning a weekly planning session, put out there, when will you work your business? If you just wing your business, like you wing a meal plan, like I said earlier, how many of you feel like you're scattered when you don't do your meal plan? You make bad choices. I can guarantee every single one of us does. But we have to sit down. We have to do that weekly planning session. So that brings me to my next thing, is asking yourself, okay, I have one top priority for the week. Now, what are my other top 3 priorities? What 3 things, if I do, besides your vital behaviors, if I do these 3 things every single day, would I have done something to move my business forward? So they should not be listening to an hour-long training call, like I said earlier. I used to do that all the time. I would scroll and scroll and scroll on YouTube to find training calls from other coaches that really inspired me. And you know what? Yes, I learned some things from them. I did a lot of leadership trainings, but I wasn't doing anything to move my business forward, you guys. I was just wasting time thinking that I was working my business because I was gaining all this stuff, but I wasn't implementing it and I wasn't using it. So that, like I said, they shouldn't be listening to things like that. If you have extra time, great, listen to them. They shouldn't be, constantly posting on social media. Yes, post on social media, but they should be things like connecting. You should be sending invites, building relationships, adding value to those follow-ups, making sure you're following up. which I'll get into that here in a little bit too, but actually doing activity that will bring people to you. So don't be just posting on social media just to post so you're present, but are you effectively posting so that people will come to you? You know, everything else that you want to do, you want to listen to an extra training call, perfect. But that goes after your top 3 priorities. So you should have about 4 priorities every single day that are going to help you work your business. So do you need to send out more invites? Do you need to build more relationships? Are you out there actually cold recruiting and connecting? So you guys, once you block out, time for your business, you have to ask yourself, okay, these are my priorities. Which things am I going to do? What days do I do follow-ups? Do I follow up Monday, Wednesday, Friday? Because I will tell you this, if you're constantly following up the minute someone messages you, I can guarantee you, which it's so easy to do, you guys, to constantly be messaging these people back and feeling like you have to be plugged in 24/7. But what I have found is if you do that, it really sets you up for failure in the long run, because they're going to expect that out of you, that every time they message you, you're right there. Okay. So if you are having a good conversation and it's flowing, great. But don't sit there and constantly feel like, okay, I just invited this person, I have to respond the minute they respond back to me. Don't do that. You're just going to set yourself up for failure, and they're going to think that you have to be available 24/7. And that, my friends, is going to add extra stress to your business. I had a customer a long time ago. This is right when I first started. And every time she messaged me, I would message her back because I wanted that sale. Well, I got the sale, things went on. And if I never messaged her back right away, she would say, hello, where are you? Hello, multiple question marks. And that was when I was at work, and work is my priority. So that's just an example of how that can really backfire on you. But anyways, so getting back to looking at your priorities and which things are you going to do each day. So when are you going to do your follow-ups? What days should I get out there and do new invites? Maybe I should do a live video once a week, creating those calls to action. Because not every single post is going to have a call to action. Maybe it will have a little invite there, but it's not going to have all of your priorities in one post. So making sure you sit down, you pencil this all in, and I'm telling you, you guys, if you start creating a schedule for yourselves like this, you're going to feel in control. You're going to feel so in control of your business that you will see it moving forward. Like Shelly's a really good example. She talked about, in her Insta stories, Shelly, I'm really talking about you tonight. But anyways, she had really talked about in her Insta story, the live coach sneak peek, about how when she started showing up in her challenge group more, her customers started seeing more results. And you guys, I have seen her business just take off. Again, that is because she has her actions in line with her priorities and what she wants out of the business. So again, that comes down to that time management. So, another thing is eliminating distractions. Like, you have to eliminate distractions. For me, I can sit down and work my business with Blake around. And when he's not around, I can get the same thing done in 2 hours that I can get done in 10 minutes. So, again, maybe your kids are doing schoolwork. Maybe they're watching an after-school cartoon, or, you tell your husband or your spouse or your significant other, I need 10 minutes just to myself to go do these follow-ups. Just giving yourself that time to effectively plug in and not have any distractions. And another thing I had for you guys is just finding a way to manage your contacts. So if you are a paper and pencil person with your follow-ups, that's fine. If that's a system that works for you, that's fine. But I'm telling you, you guys have to look into something like TMZ. And I know I've talked about this before. It's Team, Teamzy. And you literally, there's a video on it. You can import your contacts or your customers from your Beachbody page over to this website, and you can go through and you can follow up. You can rate these customers. If it's someone I need to follow up within 2 days, you put 2 days on their name, and when you log into TMZ, their name is on there to follow up. I'm telling you, you can follow up with these people You can follow up with the same amount of people, again, like in 10 minutes on this system than you would do 2 hours. You know, how many of us have just gone through our Facebook messages to see who we need to follow up with? Guilty. How many of us have gone through our Instagram messages to see who I need to follow up with? Guilty. Again, that comes down to your time management and what can you do to effectively run your business. So making sure that you have a good system to track your contacts, to track your cold recruits, to track your challengers, whatever it may be. If it's an Excel spreadsheet, that's fine. But you have to have a way to keep track of these people, because, you know, if you're just relying on your phone, it's really hard. I've been there, and I used to think I could run a very successful business by doing that. No, I couldn't. Anyways, but, you know, overall, I just want you guys to constantly just be in control. So having that eval of yourself, you know, again, what are my top priorities? What do I need to do right now to move my business forward? Doing that daily gut check at the end of the day. Did I do all my things today that need to move my business forward? You know, am I wasting my time, or am I being self-disciplined? Am I being purposeful with my time? You know, there may be sacrifices. There may be waking up earlier, going to bed a little bit later, you know, asking for help at bedtime. You know, the other night I was super overwhelmed, got home from work. I looked at my husband and I said, you have to do bath time and bedtime tonight. I just can't. Like, I have to catch up. I have this coach training going on. I have to at least give myself a half hour to effectively work my business. So, you know, don't feel like, I know this business can get overwhelming. I mean, life can get overwhelming, and don't feel like your business has to constantly, or your life has to constantly revolve around coaching. But again, like I said, we all have that same 24 hours. It's just a matter of, do I have my priorities in line? Do I have a calendar laid out? You know, am I asking my spouse or significant other for a little bit of help here and there? You know, if I'm upfront with my husband and tell him, hey, I have a team call tonight, I need you to do this. If I communicate with him, he's there for me. So if you guys have someone at home that can help you out a little bit, maybe here and there, just ask for help. But again, it comes down to, you can do it as long as you effectively manage your time. And I promise you guys, if you do that, that self-control over your business is going to make you want to show up more. It's going to make you want to do just a little bit more every day to work your business, because you have that self-control. You know, like Caitlin said today, listening to the Audible app and listening to your personal development, you know, for me, is it necessarily every day when I go to work? No. But if I'm in the shower, I turn it on my phone and I listen to it in the shower. You know, whatever it may be, you guys, to really help you work your business here and there, little tidbits. And I promise you that self-control is going to make you thrive to be a part of being your own business builder, and not throwing in the towel and say, I can't do this, it's too stressful. Like, just take a step back, look at what you're doing. Are your actions aligning what you should be doing? You know, and are you working your business at the right times, or are you trying to work your business at the wrong times? So I hope this has helped you guys tonight. I just felt, and I'm not, I'm not pointing at anyone saying you're not managing your time, but even you guys, find myself thinking, okay, like, what have I done right now? I haven't done anything. I mean, I felt that earlier. I was outside planting flowers and I'm like, you guys, I should be doing all this other stuff. But for me, that is my time to do stuff for me outside of coaching, you know, stuff that makes me happy. I don't know, planting flowers makes me happy, but, you know, just still enjoying those things that you like to do. So again, that comes down to, you don't feel like you have to sacrifice everything, okay? If you can work your business for 30 minutes out of the day, 10 minutes in the morning, 10 minutes at noon, 10 minutes at night, when you can check in with your team pages, maybe plug in with your upline, whatever it is, just sit down once a week, create that calendar. What are your priorities? What do you need to do to work on those priorities? and do it. It's easy some days.